Hello and welcome back to Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. So, it is time for us to head back to base because we're a little bit beat up after helping Sosiel with his undead problem. So, let's leave here. Hopefully it lets us. There we go. I'm going to collect all of this loot, even though it'll put us almost to heavy encumbrance, just because I'm planning on going back to base. And I think that selling it seems like a good idea. Right. So let's head back. Now, I'm also just thinking, because we can move our army, we can move where our base is, can't we? That's kind of an intriguing thought. Yeah, I like that as a thought. Anyway. Now we're back here. Let's run in. So we're looking for the blacksmith first. I think that's our first place, then probably Sosiel. Oh, hello. Who are you? A message for the commander. A knight in simple armor lowers his voice. I'm the Queen's bodyguard. She sent me to tell you she's arrived at camp. Incognito as planned. You can find her where the minor knightly orders are camped. Come if you wish to speak with her. Tell her majesty I will come at once. Certainly. Okay. Ooh. Interesting. So we can now go speak with the Queen. But before we do that... Goodbye composite longbows. Goodbye longbow +1. Goodbye 36 scimitars. Look at how much those sell for. That's amazing because they're 100 each. So look how much money we just made there. The heavy shields are gone, basically giving us nothing in comparison. Bulk selling. And I think we're good to go. Oh, 2 more severed heads in our inventory. You can have those as a bit of the deal as well. Still not sure where those are coming from. Ah, 12,000. That's looking good. That's looking good. Right, I said I'd go at once, but I do actually want to speak to Sosiel first, so hopefully she won't mind. Little quick save. Hello. Good afternoon, Commander. How can I help you? Tell me about yourself. To be honest, I don't have much to tell. I had done little with my life until I met you, but if you want to know anything, just ask. Oh wow, there's a lot here. Where are you from? From Andoran. I grew up on the outskirts of Carpendon, a large, rich city surrounded by gardens and vineyards. Just imagine, miles and miles of greenery and fragrant orchards. Sosiel inhales with pleasure, as if he could still sense the aromas of his faraway homeland. My family had a small winery. I worked there from a young age. I pressed juice, did a little carpentry, painted, and one day I discovered I could do more with paint than simply cover walls with it. There was a temple of Shaelin nearby. My brother and I would often spend our days there, listening to music and enjoying the stained glass windows. As a boy, my brother decided to devote himself to serving the Eternal Rose. Our parents hoped that at least I would remain to run the family business, but... He makes an apologetic gesture and flashes a disarming smile. It can't be helped. If the goddess called me to... It's alright, I have plenty of cousins, second cousins and other relatives. When this war is over, I'll go back and see how they're doing. So you're an artist? The cleric smiles shyly. It's too grand a word for it, but yes, I love to paint and I know how to. Of course, a crusade isn't the best place for art. What I managed to draw here is at best sketches. I hope when this war is over that I'll be able to turn them into real paintings. Fascinating, may I see your sketches? There is nothing special in them, but if you're really interested. Sosiel hands you a folder filled with pencil sketches. You recognize familiar fighters in some of the portraits. The cleric drew them without flattery, just as they are, but beneath the features that seem boring and even ugly in life, Sosiel's hand has found inner beauty, power, and dignity. The tired faces of soldiers covered with wrinkles and scars resemble an army of angels. There are landscapes in the folder as well. At first you don't understand why these blooming hills, shady groves, and shimmering springs seem so familiar. But you have passed by these places as you travelled around the Worldwound, though you saw them darkened and maimed by demonic influence. Sosiel's pencil has restored them to their former beauty, which the demons stole from them, and which the Crusaders are fighting to return. So instead of working as a craftsman, you decided to serve a deity, an interesting turn of fate. Sosiel nods with a smile. Some clerics are proud of their tender hands, which have never touched anything heavier than a brush. But there's nothing ugly about hard-earned calluses. Indeed, I should say that saving the world is easier with strong hands. A smile disappears from Sosiel's face, and he looks down, adding, I'm sorry these hands couldn't save the people who died in Canabris. How did you end up in Canabris? A grim shadow falls over the cleric's face. I was hoping to find Trevor in the city, my brother. After my brother took his vows and was ordained a paladin of Shaylin, he departed from the crusade. He wrote home often, about things he saw, his battles, the people he helped. From his letters I learned that he had joined the Eagle Watch in Canabris, but soon his letters became infrequent, then they stopped altogether. We feared news of his death, but silence was our only answer. Not a word from him, or from his command, or his brothers in arms, nothing. In the end, I couldn't wait any longer, and I came here myself, to find Trevor if he's still alive, or his grave if he should have perished. But my brother seems to have vanished. I tried asking the other paladins, but they refused to talk to me, and it's very much like they're trying to avoid the need to lie. I sent official requests to their order's command, and I wait in vain for an answer. I joined the local church of Shaylin, hoping to find the truth one day, but the city was attacked by demons. Interesting. When your brother was preparing to become a paladin of Shaylin, did he learn some kind of art too? Yes. Sosiel smiles warmly. He's always been a good wood carver. Toys, whistles, window frames. Our house was the most beautiful in the area, all dressed in his wooden filigree, from the railing on the stairs to the wonderbird on the roof. You must love your brother very much to follow him here. You have no idea how much. I would follow him to the end of the world, and to the abyss itself, if need be. Trevor is an amazing man. I know he's alive, he's too stubborn to die. I hope one day he joins us, and then we will surely triumph. How did you end up at the court of Queen Galfrey? The cleric looks down. When the city was attacked by demons, there was a hospital in our church. Every one of us was prepared to fight to the last, to cover the evacuation. But our Mother Superior wouldn't let me join the fight. She sent me for help, and everyone who stayed was killed. Why did she choose me? Maybe it was because I was new, the youngest, and the least experienced of the clerics, and I wouldn't be much help in battle. Or maybe she was giving me a chance to survive while the rest of them bravely died. Shaylin be my witness, I did not ask for this. I would be honored to lay down my head next to theirs. I ran to the closest Mendevian garrison. I don't know by what miracle I got there. There were demons all around, and everything was on fire. I remember my horse was killed right under me while I fought off some shrieking monsters. But when I came to, I woke among friends. My first thought was that it must be a dream. In my delirium, Queen Galfrey herself was dressing my wounds. But it was true, it was the Queen herself, tending to a lowly warrior. That's how I ended up in her army. I marched with them back to Canabris, to the ruins. How do you manage to always look like you're on your way to a tea party, not a battle? Sosiel looks down, for a few moments searching in silence for the right words. At last he softly replies, When I first got here to the Worldwound, you know the word terror doesn't convey half of what I felt. The land itself here is maimed and mutilated, desecrated. But more frightening still is what the war does to people, to their bodies and souls. For every knight in shining armor, there are 100 warriors whose souls are maimed with fear, suffering, and cruelty. Many have forgotten why they're here, and now know only war. When there's a break in the fighting, they drink themselves into oblivion and wallow in the mud. They're rotting alive and don't even seek help. They gave up on themselves a long time ago. Sosiel looks you in the face, and you see pain in his eyes. Don't misunderstand me, I don't condemn them. Quite the opposite, I want to help. And to do so I must look after myself first. Not only to treat and support them, but to remind them that there's something else besides war. There's a normal world out there. A place where blood doesn't stain the ground, and people don't sleep in trenches. A place where, as you said, they even occasionally have tea parties. The cleric smiles, and his eyes seem sad. Well, Under circumstances like these, everyone finds their own way to survive. Yes, everyone copes in their own way, or fails to cope. Unfortunately, not everyone can withstand this madness. The ones with the strength to endure must help the ones who don't. So, what is a servant of the Goddess of Beauty doing in a war zone? I am doing what the Goddess destined me for, to keep our fighters safe. I am confident in our victory. The gods of good are on our side, so we cannot fail. But victory is not enough. I must do whatever I can to help those who are holding off the forces of the Abyss, so they may live long enough to see victory without losing themselves along the way. Every one of our soldiers deserves a home where people love them and are waiting for their return. When our soldiers are finally able to go home on that day, I may earn the right to lay down my weapons forever. Your art is so touching. Perhaps I could pose for a portrait sometime. Just you and me? Sosiel looks away embarrassed. I enjoy your attention and I would be pleased if you would pose for me, but I hope you will understand that this is art and nothing more. I am sorry, but my romantic interests lie elsewhere. Alright, see ya. Tell me about your brother? Trevor. He's always been my hero, ever since we were children. I was a coward, always telling petty lies, always running away from danger. Trevor always ran toward it. He had this saying, an army stands until peace comes, a lie stands until the truth comes out. He never lied, never let injustice pass. Never. The cleric's voice trembles and breaks, and he shakes his head. He was 8 when he said he was going to be a paladin, and he always went towards that goal, day after day, never looking back. I remember the day he went off to fight. I thought, this is it, the war will finally end. Trevor will defeat all the demons and close the Worldwound, but Sosiel gestures helplessly. Well, thank you for talking with me. My pleasure. Ooh, wow. So we learned a lot about him there. So the queen is probably... the one that says Queen Galfrey. You know, that makes a lot of sense. Queen, you over here somewhere? Ooh, loot. How did I miss more loot?
March on.
More loot. Hello, Queen. Queen Galfrey nods to you cordially. Her armor is plain and unadorned. As promised, I entered the ranks Incognito, along with a few bodyguards. I've introduced myself as Katrine, an old friend of yours. I'm a knight of a minor order, the Green Crows. We shall see how long it takes for Anevia to sniff me out. The Queen chuckles. Why did you decide to join the Crusade after all? Because I have a curious mind and I'm quite unable to sit and do nothing for long. The Queen smiles and then grows serious. You ask a difficult question. I must remain as safe as possible. My death or abdication would sow chaos among our forces. However, I am not only a queen, I am also a paladin of Iomade. It is not in my nature to sit in a place with in a palace with my sword sheathed. In a manner of speaking, your request was simply a convenient excuse for me to be where I belong, crusading against the demon hordes. Besides, I am curious to see my new knight commander in action. I have a question for you as well. Why did you wish me to join you on the crusade? I thought it would be interesting. What do you want to say? I wanted to get to know you better, I guess is the honest answer. Sure. Surely you know how intriguing you are. Enough, Commander, the Queen scoffs with a smile. Everything that could possibly be known about me has been written in the chronicles and notarized. May I ask you a personal question? I've learned so much about Queen Galfrey from chronicles and legends. But what about the other Queen Galfrey, the one that the historians and bards cannot see? Well, I thought the last game was Kingmaker, but it looks in this one like we're, positioning to, romance a queen. Anyway. The Queen smiles faintly. That Galfrey is an old woman, weighed down by a great burden, but she has not lost her passion. She will make the feathers fly when the time comes. We gotta just keep going down this line. I look forward to working closely with you, and who knows, maybe feathers won't be the only thing flying. The Queen arches her eyebrow. It seems my Knight Commander is not above resorting to clumsy innuendo. Do you really think you're the first person to attempt to charm me with such words? You are not. If you wish to impress me, you'll have to do better than that. How does it feel living for so long beyond all natural limits? You're over 100 years old, my queen, aren't you? Still, you sound like a prosecutor at a trial. Why allow yourself what others cannot have against all natural law? That is what I hear in your question. The queen frowns. But rulers benefit from criticism, do they not? I shall answer thus. The decision to prolong my life was not mine, it was the decision of the Church of Iomade. The Sun Orchard elixirs have been paid for by the Church. The priest determined that I was needed in these dark times, both as a ruler and a chosen paladin of Iomade. I accepted the decision, and the great responsibility it entails. Why did you entrust me with Darren? The queen smiles. I saw a wonderful opportunity to teach the Count a lesson, and just couldn't resist. Honestly, I expected you to dismiss him forthwith. The Count would have been forced to return to court a laughingstock. It would have been a truly sobering experience. There's nothing more disgraceful for a Mendevian nobleman than to be discharged like that. Darren Arende, the queen shakes her head. He was such a lovely child. His mother, Queen Selania, was one of the most gracious people I have ever met. She was amiable yet decorous, and truly kind. Bonds of kinship among the nobility are on the whole highly practical and only useful for forming alliances, but Count Arende managed to become a true member of my family. I suppose that is why I spent so much time believing her son to be a better person than he actually was. His company is a heavy burden. I must admit I am quite pleased you decided to keep him on as a companion. There is a small chance that once he has had a true taste of the Crusade life, the Count will finally cease to mock the Crusaders as cynical as he is wont to do. You're given an army and a title of Knight Commander to a stranger. Why? Because for 100 years I protected my lands, trying to drive the demon horde back into the abyss. I have tried every right and rational method. The queen affords herself a brief, grim smirk. My armies have been led by the greatest generals, even Iomede's angels. My goddess's herald created the ward stones for us. We have tasted victory more than once, but we have failed to close the Worldwound. As for you, do not call yourself a stranger. You are the savior of Canabras. Hundreds of its people saw the power that descended upon you and turned the demons to dust. It's a sign they've awaited for decades, a sign for all loyal hearts and followers of Iomade. The time has come. Hope has been rekindled in the hearts of my subjects thanks to you. Hope is a priceless resource. I had no choice but to give it wings. You called it the sign they've been waiting for, but I take it you're reserving judgment? The question seems to catch the queen off balance. A strange spark flashes in her eyes. When Arodin perished and Iomade took over his legacy, I was among the first to serve the new goddess. I helped restore her church from the ashes left by the chaos after Arodin's death. Since then, I've served the inheritor loyally and truthfully. I like to believe that I've earned the blessing of my goddess. The queen's voice is surprisingly ardent. After I learned what happened in Canabras, when I met you at Defender's Heart, I had so many questions. Is it true that what happened was Iomede's work? Why did she give this power to someone unknown rather than one of her most loyal followers? Could it be that my faith has grown weak, and I don't recognize the deeds of my goddess even when they are happening right in front of me? Is the goddess somehow testing me? Those doubts were like poison. But I refused to let them poison me. The queen finishes strongly. I gave you an army and declared you Knight Commander, and accepted you as I would anyone chosen by the goddess. I need more soldiers to take Dresden. All the forces I could afford are to spare either in your army already or on the way here. I could call up volunteers, but if your headquarters sends out letters and appeals in the Queen's name, everyone will know that I came with you. The demons will not miss such an opportunity. The hordes will advance and overwhelm us. No, that is not an option. Talk to Irabeth, let her handle volunteer recruitment. Then my name will remain hidden, much like my participation in the Crusade. I must go. Okay. So we have finished speaking to Kitrain, otherwise known as the Queen. Hey, Urbeth, I want some more volunteers. Yeah. Here's 7,500 gold coins for some mages. Or for some troops, I guess. If two of your armies stand next to each other on a global map, you can transfer units between them by clicking the button that appears next to the army's name. Upon exchanging troops, the number of movement points of each army will become equal to the lowest value among the two. Clicking the I button next to the army's name on the left will take you to the army management screen. Here you can set your unit starting positions at the beginning of combat. You can split your units by holding Control or Shift. By moving the unit in a different slot, you can also create a new army here by clicking the button on the right. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I just realized it's not mages. We're paying mages to deliver troops to camp. Okay, that's fine. So I have some more people here now. Okay, so what is our next step?
Let us be off.
Also, I just realized we have a... Okay, yeah, we have the entrapping longbow still. We should probably like work out whether we need that. Next step. Probably leave or rest. Also, I've noticed that this keeps unapplying, and we can reapply it like that, which is why I put it on the bar. It's just like, it's a little annoying that that keeps doing that when these ones stay on forever. It's kind of weird. I don't know why you would ever want this off, to be honest, apart from the fact that it's good aligned, which I guess if the thing is immune to good alignment, then you would want that off, but still, you would think that you could click the button yourself. Anyway, it's a little bit weird. Right, we should rest first, and then figure out what to do. I think we're happy with just everything that was exactly as it was. Yeah, this seems fine.
Perhaps, if we survive this, I shall invite you to one of my soirees. We can devise an exotic backstory for you, and everyone will lose their heads over you, literally licking up to you. Ignorant all the while that you are but a petty thief from Canabres. It will be a riot!
Then I want to be the Prince of Garund, or maybe the King. It's a tough choice.
Good to see they're getting along. We might want to stop making potions of remove fear, but that's okay. Right. So now we're here. I think that we probably should read our books now and drop them off, and then we can head out again properly. So, book reading. Now, let's first of all get rid of the ones that we've already read, because that seems like a sensible thing. Is that one we've already read? It looks similar. Yes, alright, so we get rid of that one. Hilor and the Secrets of the whatevers. We have not read that one. Okay. This one matches this one. Okay, so I'm actually just going to sort by type as well, so we've got them all together. Yes, this is how to make money against in a war against demons. In Search of Joy, Confessions of a Heretic. I'm sure we've read. We have. Okay. That one's just a pamphlet. On the Nature of the Divine. I mean, I don't even need to check. It's probably the... Yeah, it's this one. Right, that's fine. Next up, Temples of Iomade. We have not read. Terendelev, Guardian of Canabras. We have not read. Okay. We've not read that one. I just remember the other two books. Verizian Horror. We have not read. And then, Without a Shadow of a Doubt, Expecting Nothing in Return, The Life and Feats of Lord Axilar Tresbot. We have not read, and I suspect that we wouldn't have read it because it's by Nura Dendwar. Alright, oh, we have this book down here. What's this one? Notes from My Travels in Northern Avastin. Why is that in a different section? Also, we've got the Croissant that we should probably learn. Largely Destroyed Letter. I think we've read... Is this one that we read? I think that is one that we read, yeah. Sermon Extract. I also think we read that. Just getting rid of these ones. Prayer Scroll. We've read that, definitely. Alright. Let's... Did I read the Northern Avastin one? I don't think so. We cannot learn that because we already have it, so I should sell that. An Unfinished Letter. Yes, we should put that one in here as well. Just to get rid of anything that could be book-like. So what I'm wondering is some of the books apparently give you certain things like down in the corner, like it pops up in your combat log after you read them. Could it be this one? Like this type of book? Oh, also we have Irbeth's Letter. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, there we go. Just clean up our inventory. Right. So, info. I'm not going to read it just now. I just want to see. There we go. You learned something new from this book. Cool. So I don't know what that means, but my assumption for this "you learn something new from the book" comment is that this unlocks some like knowledge that you can use in conversations. So like, because you've read the notes from my travels in Northern Avastin, we can know about Northern Avastin. That's my theory. Also you've already read these biography extracts as well. Cool. Okay, let's read the book properly now. In the knowledge that the best place to observe the effects of extraplanar energy entering our world is the region formerly known as Sarkoris, I immediately set off for that desolate land. Upon arriving in Mendev and making inquiries to find a guide who would agree to escort me to the lands bordering the Worldwound, I came up against an unexpected impediment. The local rangers and guides categorically refused to help me. Desna, however, smiled upon me and led me to a local hunter. After 3 tankards of grog, he agreed to go with me to the Worldwound and showed me the area. By the time he had sobered up, it was already too late to reconsider. We had passed the last cordons and had plunged deep into the forests of Sarkoris. Even thousands of miles away from the planar rift itself, an attentive observer can discern the anomalies brought about by the Worldwound. Insignificant differences that become more and more pronounced the closer one gets. The first thing that struck me were the unnatural trees that looked as though they had all been sketched from a single exemplar. Then the quality of the air changed. It tasted different with every inhale, from sulphur to caramel, from acrid salt to spoiled herring. According to the almanacs I had consulted on my journey to Mendev, one of the first signs of the Worldwound's creation was towers of black smoke billowing up from the rift. The terrifying sight above the southern steppe and the tales of my guide confirmed that the effusions of ash and poisonous fumes continued to this day, although I did not expect the air there to taste like one was standing between a confectioner's and a crematorium. As we journeyed on, we encountered the remains of dead livestock, dogs, and even people. Some skeletons bore the marks of demon claws, while others had clearly expired of rather more original causes. We even came across 2 perfectly mummified corpses that looked as though they had turned to stone. Skirting around a sparse and foreboding forest, we came upon a plain that was bisected by a series of unnaturally uniform hills. I would have been only too happy to study said phenomenon, but alas, after several paces my guide was hoisted up into the air and quite literally turned inside out. After shedding my blood-soaked frock coat and the encumbrance of my souvenirs collected along the way, I hastily withdrew. Sensible decision. Okay, so we haven't learned an awful lot from this one, but apparently we have learned something. Basically going near the Worldwound is a bad idea. We probably could have guessed that. Alright, let's go for this one. Hilor and the Secrets of the Needled Lens. Book the second of the astounding exploits of Venture Captain Hilor, published by the Pathfinder Society. The skeptical ranger followed Hilor, who skirted the glade and cautiously surveyed the forest around them. If you're hoping to find someone around here, Captain, you're wasting your time. The Needled Lands are totally uninhabited. A wild animal might stray into these parts, but there are no people here. Tell me, began the Venture Captain, drawing out the words, what is the secret to this place? The Worldwound is a stone's throw away, but the Needled Lands look like an ordinary, healthy forest. No bubbling mold on the ground, no trees that are identical down to the last leaf, no trace of demons whatsoever. The ranger answered after a long pause. I don't know for sure, Captain, but people have different theories. Some say the Needled Lands are cursed by forces that came to this world before the demons. Horrible creatures that could addle your minds with a single look. People say that's why the demons avoid this place. They're afraid. Hilor scoffed. His guide's tale was surely nothing but a cock-and-bull story, but the idea of his quarry hiding at the very heart of a place thought to pose a dire threat to her, well, he couldn't help being tickled by that. The spinner of Nightmare's trail led here, to the strange wood, there was no doubt about that, but how did she ever find her way here? Hilor fished his tracker's monocle out from the depths of his pack, clipped it to his nose, looked up, and let out a full-bellied laugh. I can't fault the Huradin for her ingenuity, but she might have changed up her nasty tricks, knowing the arsenal I carry. Follow me. The ranger scoffed in disbelief, but the forest remained as much a mystery to him as before, but Hilor's gaze directed as it was through the eye of truth, effortlessly picked out the magical notches on the tree trunks, leading to an as yet unknown destination. Okay, so we're learning even more about like the area around the Worldwound. It's just interesting what it's telling us right now. So I'm assuming that we're going to run into some problems around the Worldwound, and these books are kind of a hint. Anyway. How to make money during the war against demons. My mentor and training partners used to feel sorry for me. I had enough power to summon and hold a lesser imp at best. Would you call that real magic? Ah, but there's nothing a smart lad like me can't use to stake out his reputation and make his fortune. There's one particularly nasty sort of demons called abracandillus. They're made of the souls of vandals and destroyers of art. In demon form, they continue to do the same. When they see beautiful pictures and statues, they fly into a rage and desecrate them. I once overheard a conversation on the street between two art collectors. They couldn't decide whether they should patronize a young and promising artist or a famous maestro whose best days were behind him. So I made them an offer. How about we place the two paintings side by side, and I'll summon an abracandillo. Whichever painting it attacks first would naturally be the more beautiful. The key was to banish the demon in time before it destroyed the painting, but that wasn't going to be a problem for me. The collectors agreed to run this experiment according to my plan, and thus my legacy began. 3 months later, not a single art event could do without me and my demon servant. We were invited to exhibition openings, appraisers' workshops, and auctions. The more enraged the demon became on seeing another carving or slapdash daub, the higher its price soared, and they paid me well for my appraisal. I often staged artist battles in which the demon would choose which of the two paintings it despised most, and the tickets sold like hotcakes. However, there was one unfortunate incident. A gnome and an elf came to me from Absalom. Two young, bright-eyed artists. They wanted to enter one of these battles, but they offered peculiar sculptures art instead of paintings. The gnome had a huge pile of nibbled apples preserved by a spell. The elf had a watering can without any holes, which stood on a cart with one square wheel. This, they explained to me, was modern art. It was, how they put it, unconventive, and some such thing. They claimed it was popular in Absalom, where the gnome and elf were very famous, unconventive artists. Oh no, I think I see where this is going. Well, my job was simple, to display their works, gather an audience, and release my demon from its prison. And that's precisely what I did. But the abracandillo came out of his cage, looked at the apples and the watering can with the cart, and then looked at me as if I was a complete idiot, turned around and went back into its cage with an expression of utter disappointment. I like how it's part of the show as well. It's like, alright, sure, I'm a demon and I'm compelled to do this, but I do actually quite like doing it. You know, I like it's given it a personality. It was nearly an international scandal. I was so upset that I even returned the money for the appraisal to the gnome and the elf. But it's alright, my business still thrives even without the Absalom clientele. Meanwhile, where are my more talented fellow apprentices? Half of them are still crouched over books learning what they can, the other half went off to those ridiculous crusades and perished. They never consider that demons can be used to make money, and a lot of it. I think I'll soon buy myself a little palace, and cover its walls with the works of all the most famous artists. Ha! Cool. Good story. May Canabris be damned. This is the anonymous pamphlet we found in the camp. I spit on the streets of Canabris. I spit on its granite walls and its stained glass windows. If tomorrow the ground trembles, splits apart, and devours the cursed city, I will not shed one tear. No one here, not a single soul, deserves any compassion. Everyone who lives in this city is a criminal. If there were any justice in this world, every one of them would be hanging from the gallows, Prelate, Hulrun, and Queen Galfrey, chief among them. Ask anyone on the streets what they know of mongrels. The answer will be dumb silence or the lowered eyes of a scoundrel who knows their crimes but doesn't want to think about it. Mongrels, a disgusting nickname which the residents of the city have given to the brave Crusader heroes who defeated the forces of evil but paid for it with their health. Covered with scabs and tumours, bloated and gnarled, they were no longer beautiful enough to be tolerated by the very people they'd saved. As a reward for their heroism, the city dwellers exiled them to the sewers and damp caves beneath the city. The author of these words went down there and spoke with them. And I'll have you know that the ugliest of them is more noble than all the paladins of Mendev, not to mention that head-chopping prelate and his murderous queen. And if any pretend that today's city dwellers aren't responsible for the crimes of their grandfathers, then I will spit in their face, for the grandchildren of the exiled are still down there, crawling in the mud and eating garbage. And everyone who knows about this and does nothing, and everyone who should know but prefers blissful ignorance, I say they're all guilty, and that they repeat the same crime every day. As long as this doesn't change, any citizen who desires to fight a demon should take a knife and stab themselves in the stomach. For your city is already rotten, and you are no better than the demons. And if anyone would repent and right this terrible wrong, they should turn their weapons on the prudish paladins who preach good but defend an order that flies in the faiths of justice. Down with the paladins, down with Prelate Hulrun, down with Queen Galfrey. Okay, fairly strong words, but you can't necessarily say that they're wrong, based upon what we know. Temples of Iomade, Father Lorien's Guide for Neophytes. Traveller. If the road ever takes you to the outskirts of Canabris, do not shy away from taking a few more steps and entering the city proper. Apart from the ramparts and the fortifications that stand unshaking, barring the path of humanity's foes and the noble orders that keep their watch against the forces of evil, Canabris holds a treasure of a different sort. In days of old, in the fire and the upheaval of the Second Crusade, it became a site for the first and most crucial of the ward stones. Sacred obelisks that have the power to avert a demonic scourge, no matter how accursed it may be. No evil creature can pass betwixt two such stones that now stand along the edge of the Worldwound and shelter the peace of all Golarion. Even vile demonic magics are powerless against them, for the abyss cannot cross the unseen curtain of the wardstones. Should you arrive at the right time and be virtuous and respectful towards those who guard the wardstone, you shall be granted the great honour of sharing in one of the rituals that support the magical strength of that holiest obelisk. This artifact and the spells invested in it are most sacred, for every wardstone was raised by the Herald of Iomade himself, the closest of her servants, one who is selflessly devoted to the Inheritor's cause and the Crusaders' great mission. And even if you cannot reach the wardstone, do honour Iomade's splendour in one of Canabris' churches, and thus pay your respects to the humankind's protector and the sacrifices made by the Crusaders for the good of our world. Okay, so he's basically saying go visit the temple. Alright, Tyrendelev, our long-lived dragon friend. Canabris has no shortage of prominent figures, both those who have long passed away and those who still reside within the city walls. But it's safe to say that the greatest guardian there ever was and will be is the silver dragon Tyrendelev. Among metallic dragons, the silver kind in particular has high moral standards. Although, like most of their kin, they often remain indifferent to matters concerning mere mortals, they find it unbearable to watch impassively as injustice and crime are committed with impunity. Gazing down upon Golarion from above, Tyrendelev has seen her share of injustice and violence, but no tragedy disturbed her peace more than Mendev's war against the Worldwound. Drawn into action by her curiosity and her interest in the Crusaders that paid for others' peace with their own blood, Tyrendelev swooped down from the mountains and walked among the humans, taking on their form. This world must have felt so odd to her, so different from her own. Luckily for her, Tyrendelev was not the only dragon living among mortals. The wise gold dragon, Haliceliax, became a mentor for Tyrendelev and her sworn brother, Sevelaros, whom later mysteriously disappeared from history and human memory. You're just gonna throw that one out there like it's nothing? Okay. During her life amidst mortals, Tyrendelev performed many heroic deeds. She fought terrifying abyssal spawn, kept Canabris safe from enemy onslaught, and personally saved Crusaders in need. In one such excursion, she herself fell victim to demonic taint. Onlookers reported that her shining silvery armor darkened, her eyes clouded, and her speech and movements became ruthless and crude. But so great were her spirit and determination that she achieved the impossible. She overcame the seed of evil planted in her very heart and returned to good once more. Today, Tyrendelev is a living, Oh, unfortunate use term there. Symbol of the resilience and stalwartness of Canabris, which serves as a stronghold for Crusades and humanity's bastion in the war against the demon threat. Alright, well it sounds like her brother and this other gold dragon might become people we hear about later, just judging by the fact that they were both thrown in there with no context. But they have full names. Okay. The Keen Edge of Truth, Recollections and Admonitions of an Inquisitor of Asmodeus. The demon lords whose names are known to mortals number no more than a few dozen. Far more numerous are those who aspire to that rank and their own abyssal realm, but who, as yet, are unable to make a bid for such power. There are hundreds, possibly thousands of such demons, but their names are known only to experienced demonologists, and to those unhappy fools who decide to sell their souls to the abyss, and fail even to find a worthy patron for their trouble. Time and time again, one of these weaker demons will secure a resounding victory, scale the heights, or should that be sink to the depths of the demon hierarchy, already fancying themselves a demon lord, when they soon make a misstep and die an inglorious death. The fate of such a demon could serve as a lesson to the rest, but if demons possess the capacity to learn from their own or others' mistakes, would they even be demons? No. A stubborn refusal to learn is one of the major flaws that distinguish the bedlam of the abyss from the well-ordered hierarchy of hell. The demoness is Yagna, she of the sevenfold swarm, serves as an example of such a fall from disgrace. One of the many daughters of Lamashtu, she possesses 7 bodies, 7 mortal women of the various races of Golarion, each with an ant's head controlled by one hive mind. She commanded various insects, swarming, crawling creatures with ants at her especial preference. The author of these words witnessed the oath of obedience sworn by cultists of Isyagna with his own eyes. The witless initiate was forced to meditate while sitting atop an anthill. However, the human sacrifices being carried out by this fool's brethren around the little town I was serving in at the time were far from amusing. It required no small effort to destroy the cultists, who had been summoning ravenous swarms and spreading madness in the name of their mistress. So what became of her? What fate befell is Yagna? The particulars are unknown, but consensus holds that the mistress of the crawling swarm ran afoul of the master of the flying swarm, the far more powerful demon lord Deskari. Only Lamashtu's intercession saved her daughter from death, but not from abasement and the loss of her powers. Consequently, most of her followers forsook the cult of the Mother of Beasts. Today, Yagna is worshipped by a handful of individuals who possess a stubborn predilection for sitting on anthills, and even to them she can only grant minor spells. Okay, so we're learning a little bit more about demon hierarchy there. The Verizian Horror. When they reached the cemetery hill, the rain was still pouring. In spite of the weather and the priest's weak protest, Rigor had no intention of stopping. If his suspicions were correct, the evil that settled in the village many years ago had to be stopped as soon as possible. The local priest, whom Rigor and Mogfra had approached for help in their quest, was alarmed that these strangers were accusing someone from his flock and decided to tag along so he could defend the innocent should the need arise. Ascending the broken stairs leading up to the ancient crypt atop the hill, Rigor quietly pulled out his blade and hid it under his soaked cloak. Once the two got to the hewn stone that served as a sacrificial altar, he spotted the gravedigger. Despite the late hour and the violent storm, he was digging a shallow grave. Before Rigor had time to intervene, the priest, prompted by a desire to clear the hermit of suspicion, went straight towards the massive, misshapen figure. The gravedigger turned his head, and at the first sight of Rigor and Mogfra, started moving with a speed that didn't match his proportions. He leapt far forward, and the shovel cut through the cold autumn air, striking the priest's head. Pieces of skull and bloody scraps splattered forth, and the gravedigger, letting out an unintelligible roar, lunged at the outsiders. Mokra, who had already raised her hands, frozen in terror, the gravedigger's gaping mouth was filled with a dozen rows of sharp needle-like teeth, and the sorceress's weakened mind was struck by a murky stream of abhorrent blasphemy in an otherworldly tongue. Rigor, however, had kept his composure. Dodging to the side, he slashed the corpulent body as if cutting open a rotten, bloated shell. With a wet smack, the gravedigger's neck and chest burst open, revealing to the mortal's eyes the beast's true form. One of a foul worm whose sickening body was now gushing in coils out of the now useless human frame. The cemetery keeper was an abominable vermlek demon. Those caster ones that we saw back in Canabris. Created from the souls of despicable scum that in life used to defile graves and disturb the deceased in the vilest of ways. After rising from the bowels of the abyss and invading Golarion, he and his kind are always drawn to places that used to excite the minds and fascinations or fantasies of their progenitors. Right, next one. Without a shadow of a doubt, expecting nothing in return, the life and feats of Lord Axilar Tresbot, by Nura Dendawar. Nerishan, Cruciform Cathedral Publishing House. Frowning, Lord Tresbot made a gesture for his people to halt. Everyone froze. No one dared disobey his order, even one given with his eyes alone. Lord Tresbot loved to say that he could only win when his whip frightened his soldiers no more than the demon's claws, and he succeeded like no other in enforcing discipline. The Lord approached what we took for a scarecrow from afar, left in the middle of the wasteland by an unknown farmer. Picking it up with his sword, the Lord made us a sign to approach. It was the body of a young crusader, a boy, not 20 years old, horribly broken, disemboweled, with shards of bone sticking out and shreds of skin dangling in the wind. Horror watched us from the stake, eyes sockets filled with worms. A contemptuous smirk crossed the Lord's face. "Coward," he said through his teeth. "Fled from the battle. The demons caught him and he surrendered without a fight. And here are his useless fellows." The Lord kicked an inconspicuous bump under his feet, and it rolled, revealing an open helmet's visor with a greenish-grey mush inside, swarming with insects. We shivered and looked down, realizing the ground underneath our feet was a mix of shards of metal and pieces of flesh. "Cowards," the Lord said again. "Cowards and weaklings. They were doomed even before they approached the Worldwound. They should never have left their comfortable homes. What did they achieve? They delivered the demons a hot lunch, that's all. Let's go. While the slugs waste their useless lives, someone has to win this ridiculous war." Without turning away or heeding the disgusting crunching sound underneath his feet, he strode forward. We hurried after him, trying not to step on anything that was until recently part of someone's body. Oh wow. Okay. Oh, we also learned a lot from a lot of books there. Okay. So what that tells me is that these books, it's not just, this one's just placed in an odd position, but maybe it's the name? No. Oh, it is. It is the name. These are first because they've got quotes around the outside of them, but it must be in the same category as these things. But this one doesn't have any quotes because it's got my notes from the travels in Northern Avastin separately. Oh, okay. But yeah, now we've read all those books, we've actually learned quite a lot of new things. That's cool. I like that we've learned so many things that hopefully we can learn what we're doing with them at some point. Right. Let's go outside. We've now been absolutely through all of the lore that we could possibly go through. I wonder if I can speak to her again, actually, now that I've read her book. Maybe. Let's go to the blacksmith first, though. Because I want to sell you this. There we go. Make her 25 gold back. Right. Hello, can I speak with you again? Okay, so there's nothing new there. I was wondering whether it opened up like a new dialogue option with her, because we've read her book, potentially. I don't know. I wonder whether it's... Who are you? What the hell do you want from me? Oh. Who's the elf? Who's that elf you were talking to? She didn't introduce herself, but she was greatly interested in the volunteers that had joined the army. She thought I might know an elf she was looking for my mercenary contacts. I couldn't tell you any more than that. She never shared his name. Yeah, so that must be foreign. She must be looking for Foreign. Well, let's go check on him here. See whether anything's going on. So that would be in this one. Sosiel's in here. Hello. I guess maybe they change where they are at night. That's kind of interesting. Yes, nobody else is here right now. Do I have a scroll? I don't have any money for it. I was going to say, do I have a scroll of Raised Dead? But no. Oh, by the way, you might be wondering, why has Darren got a halo around his head? Well, as an Aasimar, it's one of his abilities, but I'd never activated it. It basically gives him a bonus against getting dazzled. I just literally never activated it. You see here, this thing's disabled again. Interesting. Must have a timer on it. Oh, we'll just keep re-enabling it whenever we notice. Right, I guess it's time to rest, right? Or have we already rested? We've already rested. Okay, well. Oh, do you have anything new to say? No. Okay. I think it is time for us to end the episode here. I know it's a lot of reading this time. Trust me, I know it was a lot of reading. But next time, we can go fully into the action. We've got absolutely nothing that we need to catch up on lore-wise. It's unlikely they're going to introduce any new characters to us, so it should be getting back into the action with, I suspect, Darren's side quest, although I do want to head back to Canabras, just to see whether there's anything else going on. I suspect it's only allowing you to go back to Canabras so you can finish off the Thieflings quest, but, yeah, anyway, it'd be worth checking out just to see. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.